The Galactic Council chamber hung suspended in space, a massive crystalline structure orbiting a neutral star system. Inside, representatives from over 200 sentient species debated the fate of the newest members of their interstellar community, humans. Captain Tom Reed stood at rigid attention beside Admiral Jane Wilson, Earth's military representative. His weathered face remained carefully neutral despite the tension in the chamber. After 20 years commanding starships, he thought he'd seen everything. He was wrong. The evidence is conclusive, announced Counselor Grip, the tall reptilian representative from the Drex Empire. His scales shimmered under the artificial light as he manipulated the holographic display. Human warship design violates our established conventions of proportional defense. The display showed the latest Earth battlecruiser, the EDF Sentinel, alongside alien vessels of similar classification. The differences were striking. Where alien ships were streamlined and specialized, the human vessel bristled with redundant systems, adaptive shielding, and weapons coverage from all angles. Humans designed ships not merely for defense, but for sustained combat under extreme conditions, continued Grip, yellow eyes narrowing. Their vessels can continue fighting at 70% capacity even after suffering damage that would disable our own ships. Admiral Wilson stepped forward, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun. Counselor, with all due respect, Earth has faced extinction-level threats 3 times in our brief history of space exploration. Our ship designs reflect hard-won survival lessons. The chamber erupted in overlapping alien voices, some supportive, others hostile. Council leader Mox, a blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms, raised all hands for silence. The concern, Admiral, said Mox in a melodious voice, is not that humans defend themselves, but how quickly your military technology advances. A species that joined our council only 15 years ago now produces warships that concern our oldest members. Reed exchanged glances with Wilson. They both knew what this was really about. In the last decade, Earth had expanded to 17 colony worlds and constructed a fleet that rivaled civilizations with thousand-year head starts. The old powers were frightened. The vote came swiftly. By a narrow margin, the Council approved Resolution 5293, a complete ban on human-designed warships. All existing vessels would be decommissioned within 1 standard year, replaced with Council-approved designs. This is outrageous, Reed whispered as they left the chamber. They're leaving Earth defenseless. Not here, Wilson muttered, eyes forward. Everything in this station is monitored. Back aboard their shuttle, security systems activated, Wilson finally spoke freely. This was orchestrated by Grip and the War faction. They've been planning this for years. Reed ran a hand through his short gray hair. But why? We've never threatened them. Because they're planning something. Wilson handed him a secure tablet. Intelligence picked this up last week. Classified beyond top secret. The tablet showed massive fleet movements throughout Drex territory. Shipyards operating at maximum capacity. Resource stockpiling. They're preparing for war, Reed said grimly. And they want us hamstrung when it starts. 24 hours later, in an underground facility beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars, Reed stood before Earth's Security Council. The news had not improved. We have little choice but to comply with the ban, said President Kwan. We cannot fight the entire council. So we just surrender? General Franklin demanded, pounding the table. No, said Director Lopez of Intelligence. We adapt. She activated a holographic display showing designs unlike anything Reed had seen before. Project Phoenix, she announced. If they ban our warships, we build something that isn't, technically, a warship. The hologram showed modular vessels that appeared civilian but contained hidden systems and reconfigurable components. Captain Reed, said President Kwan, your combat experience and engineering background make you uniquely qualified to lead this project. You'll have unlimited resources and our best people. Reed studied the designs, mind already racing with possibilities. How long do I have? 6 months, said Wilson. We're scheduling a public decommissioning ceremony for our fleet as a show of compliance. It should buy us time. Reed nodded slowly. 6 months to reinvent space warfare while pretending to disarm. No pressure. As the meeting concluded, Reed's secure communicator chimed with a message from Dr. Mike Lee, Earth's foremost starship designer. Phoenix preliminary designs complete. Ready when you are. Reed looked out the viewport at the red Martian landscape. Somewhere beyond that horizon, humanity's future was taking shape in secret hangars and hidden labs. The aliens thought they'd clipped humanity's wings. They had no idea what would rise from the ashes. The underground facility stretched for miles beneath the Martian surface, a warren of laboratories and construction bays hidden from orbital surveillance. Captain Tom Reed strode through the main engineering section where Dr. Mike Lee waited beside a holographic display. "Show me what we've got," Reed said without preamble. Dr. Lee adjusted his glasses with oil-stained fingers. Short and wiry, the engineer possessed a mind that made the impossible seem merely difficult. "The Council banned warships," Lee said, activating the display. "So we built these instead." The hologram showed a sleek vessel that resembled a standard cargo hauler. Nothing remarkable, until Lee pressed another button. The ship's components began to shift, panels sliding away to reveal weapon ports. Sections detached and reformed into defensive arrays. "Modular transformation technology," Lee explained. Each ship contains systems that can be rapidly reconfigured for different functions. Individually, they're civilian vessels. Together. He pressed another control. Multiple ship holograms moved into formation, components detaching and reattaching between vessels. The result was something entirely new, a battle configuration that existed in the spaces between ships rather than within a single hull. "Brilliant," Reed whispered. "The ban specifically defines warships as single vessels with integrated weapon systems exceeding certain parameters." Exactly. No single Phoenix module violates those parameters. But when they work together, they create a distributed weapons platform more powerful than anything we've decommissioned. Reed circled the hologram. "And the transformation speed?" 90 seconds from civilian configuration to full combat readiness. A door slid open behind them, admitting Agent Lisa Black. The intelligence officer's expression was grim. "We have a problem," she said. "The Galactic Council just dispatched observers to every human colony. They claim it's to assist with the transition, but my sources say they're looking for exactly what we're building." Reed frowned. "How close are we to a working prototype?" 3 weeks for the first unit, Lee replied. "But we'll need at least 50 to form an effective defense network." "You have 2 weeks for the prototype," Reed decided. "And we need to accelerate production." "If the Council suspects." "It's worse than that," interrupted Black. She activated a wall screen showing a distant human mining outpost near the asteroid belt. As they watched, 3 alien vessels approached. Without warning, energy beams lanced out, reducing the station to debris. "This happened 6 hours ago," Black said quietly. "The Council is calling it a regrettable accident caused by the outpost's unauthorized defensive systems triggering automated responses." "Those were civilian miners," Reed said through clenched teeth. 47 people. "And there was no weapon system," added Black. "I had the station specs pulled. It wasn't even equipped with point defense lasers." Dr. Lee's hands trembled as he turned back to his workstation. "This was never about maintaining peace, was it? They're systematically weakening us before something bigger." "Which is why Phoenix needs to succeed," Reed affirmed. "How many of these modules can we hide in plain sight? Disguised as cargo ships, passenger liners?" With current resources? Maybe 200 within 6 months. Reed nodded grimly. Make it happen. I'll handle the military training. Our people need to master these new configurations. As they dispersed to their tasks, Reed's communicator beeped with an encrypted message from Admiral Wilson, Counselor Grip announcing surprise inspections of human space beginning next week. Phoenix must remain hidden at all costs. Reed looked up at the massive construction bay where the first Phoenix modules were taking shape. They were in a race against time, with humanity's survival as the prize. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos as Counselor Grip slammed his scaled fist against the podium. Holographic images of Commander Green's Phoenix ships, partially transformed during the Europa battle, floated above the central display. Deception. Grip hissed, yellow eyes blazing. The humans have mocked this council's authority. Admiral Jane Wilson stood calmly amid the storm, hands clasped behind her back. My government has followed the letter of Resolution 5293. No single vessel in our fleet qualifies as a warship under Council definitions. Diplomat Mary Ford, Earth's chief negotiator, stepped forward. The Phoenix vessels acted to save lives during a pirate attack. Would you have preferred we let our citizens die? The Council leader Mox raised all 4 hands for silence. Inspector Creel, your report states these vessels appeared to transform? Yes, Creel confirmed, 4 eyes blinking nervously. Components shifted configuration during combat. No single ship violated parameters, but working in concert, they demonstrated military capabilities. A loophole, growled Grip. They exploited a technical loophole. Several council members nodded in agreement, while others appeared impressed by human ingenuity. The council remained divided. Without a clear violation, announced Mox, we cannot take punitive action. However, this body will review the definition of prohibited vessels. As the session adjourned, Wilson and Ford boarded their shuttle back to Earth. That buys us time, Wilson said, but Grip won't stop here. He can't, Ford agreed. He's promised his allies human territory. If he fails to deliver. Within days, the situation deteriorated. Alien ships, not officially sanctioned by the Council but clearly aligned with Grip, began appearing near human trade routes. Merchant vessels reported being inspected at gunpoint. Shipments vanished. In Earth orbit, General Bill Strong of the Earth Defense Force reviewed the mounting incidents on his command center's main screen. They're testing us, he told Admiral Wilson. Seeing how far they can push before we break. And building justification for stronger measures, Wilson added grimly. The blockades aren't officially sanctioned, so the Council claims it can't intervene. A lieutenant rushed in, face pale. Admiral, the supply ship Horizon just sent a distress call from the Mars-Earth route. They reported being surrounded by unidentified vessels before we lost contact. Wilson's expression hardened. They're no longer testing. This is war. Red emergency lights flashed throughout the Mars Defense Command Center as Colonel Jim Stone received the incoming reports. The massive alien fleet had appeared without warning, dropping out of faster-than-light travel just beyond the orbit of Phobos. 57 vessels, reported his sensor officer. Configuration matches Drek's battle formations. Stone's weathered face remained impassive as he activated the colony-wide alert system. All Phoenix units deploy. Civilian protocol until my command. On the main view screen, the alien armada advanced toward Mars. Their commander, a Drex military leader named Zult, broadcast on all frequencies, "Attention Mars colonies. This is a training exercise in Council space. Maintain position and do not interfere." "Training exercise," muttered Stone's executive officer. "They're in weapons range of our main colony." In the civilian research facility beneath Olympus Mons, Dr. Kate Hall rushed to evacuate her science team. The ground shook as something impacted nearby. "So much for training exercises," she said, helping a colleague to their feet. Through the reinforced windows, she saw the first Phoenix vessels rising from their concealed hangars, still in civilian configuration. Aboard the Drex command ship, Commander Zult watched the human response with contempt. "Their pathetic transports are no match for our battle fleet. Begin the demonstration." Energy weapons lanced down from 3 Drex cruisers, striking the Martian surface near the main colony's power generation facility. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. Colonel Stone's voice remained steady as he gave the order: "All Phoenix units, combat configuration Alpha. Engage." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The seemingly harmless human transports suddenly transformed. Sections detached, reconfigured, and reattached between vessels. Civilian hulls split open to reveal weapon systems. Within 90 seconds, the scattered ships had become an integrated defensive network. "What trickery is this?" demanded Zult as his tactical officer reported weapon locks from all directions. The first volley from the Phoenix fleet struck with devastating precision, targeting propulsion and weapon systems. 3 Drex vessels fell out of formation immediately. "Impossible!" Zult screamed as more ships reported critical damage. The Phoenix vessels moved in perfect coordination, constantly shifting configuration to adapt to Drex counterattacks. "Full retreat," Zult finally ordered, his fleet having lost nearly half its strength. "Return to base immediately." As the alien ships fled, Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to Earth. The Phoenix has risen." Captain Joe Black's scout ship drifted silently at the edge of the Drex system, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly undetectable. Black studied the massive construction before him with growing dread. "Are you getting this, Command?" he whispered, though there was no need for silence in space. On Earth, Admiral Wilson and Dr. Lee watched the transmission with horror. The structure was unlike anything they'd seen before, a colossal ring nearly 5 kilometers in diameter with a central energy core pulsing with ominous light. "Magnify Sector 7, instructed Dr. Lee. The image zoomed to show a small figure moving along the outer ring, alien engineer Drac, though they didn't know his name. The Drex engineer was conducting final inspections on what would become known as the Annihilator. "Energy readings are off the charts," reported Black. "Whatever this is, it's powerful enough to..." His transmission suddenly cut off as a proximity alarm blared. "Detected. Evasive maneuvers," were his last words before the feed went dead. 3 days later, a battered escape pod reached Earth orbit. Captain Black had survived, barely, with critical intelligence. The Annihilator was a planet killer, designed specifically to penetrate the new Phoenix defense systems. Meanwhile, on the neutral world of Talos, Admiral Wilson met secretly with Counselor Trell, a moderate alien who had broken ranks with Grip's faction. "The weapon will be operational within days," Trell warned, his translucent skin pulsing with anxiety. "Grip plans to target Earth first, then your colonies. He calls it solving the human problem permanently." "Why help us?" Wilson asked. "Because this violates everything the Council stands for," Trell replied. "And if humans fall, my people will be next." Back on Earth, Captain Reed and Dr. Lee worked frantically to develop a counter to the approaching threat. "Conventional defenses won't work," Lee explained to Earth's Security Council. "The Annihilator generates an energy beam that phases through normal matter. It will literally tear the planet apart at the molecular level." "What options do we have?" demanded President Kwan. Reed activated a hologram showing the entire Phoenix fleet arranged in a new configuration, not as separate units, but as components of a single massive shield. "The ultimate configuration," he announced. "Every Phoenix vessel linked together to create one unified defense system. In theory, it could deflect or absorb the Annihilator's beam." "In theory?" someone asked. "We haven't had time to test it," Reed admitted. "And it would require every Phoenix ship we have. If it fails, Earth has no second line of defense." The announcement came 12 hours later. The Annihilator had entered the solar system, escorted by the entire Drex battle fleet. Grip's endgame had begun. The Annihilator loomed in Earth's sky, visible to the naked eye as a menacing ring against the stars. Across the planet, people watched news feeds with dread while military personnel rushed to emergency stations. Admiral Wilson stood in the orbital command center, surrounded by holographic displays tracking both the approaching threat and Earth's last defense, the Phoenix fleet assembling in its ultimate configuration. "All ships in position," reported Captain Reed from the lead vessel. "Ultimate configuration ready to deploy on your command." On the Annihilator's command deck, Counselor Grip gazed at the blue planet with cold satisfaction. Behind him, technicians prepared the weapon for firing. "The humans have arranged their little ships in some sort of barrier," reported his tactical officer dismissively. A futile gesture. "Begin charging sequence," ordered Grip. "The Council will thank us once this threat to galactic stability is eliminated." As the Annihilator's core began to glow with building energy, the Phoenix fleet executed its final transformation. Hundreds of vessels linked together, their components shifting and connecting into a massive concave shield between Earth and the alien weapon. Energy conduits formed between ships, creating a single interconnected system. "Energy levels at maximum," announced the Drex weapons officer. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. A blinding beam erupted from the Annihilator, striking the center of the Phoenix shield. For one terrible moment, it seemed the defense would fail as the beam pushed against the human barrier. Then something unexpected happened. The Phoenix shield didn't just block the beam, it began to curve inward, forming a parabolic reflector. The energy was being redirected. "Impossible," screamed Grip as his tactical displays showed the redirected beam heading back toward the Annihilator. The weapon that was designed to destroy a planet found itself facing its own energy, amplified and focused by human ingenuity. The Annihilator's structural integrity failed catastrophically, the massive ring tearing itself apart in a blinding explosion. In the aftermath, Earth's fleet surrounded the stunned Drex forces. Without their superweapon, they had no choice but to surrender. 1 week later, in the Galactic Council chamber, Admiral Wilson presented evidence of Grip's conspiracy. Recordings provided by Counselor Trell revealed the full extent of the plot against humanity. "The ban on human warships was never about peace," Wilson concluded. "It was the first step in a planned genocide." Grip was removed from the Council in disgrace, arrested by his own people for unauthorized acts of war. The ban on human ships was officially lifted, replaced by a new treaty that recognized Earth's right to self-defense. As Captain Reed watched the signing ceremony, President Kwan approached him. "The Phoenix Project saved our world," she said. "What happens to it now?" Reed gestured toward a group of alien representatives examining technical displays with Dr. Lee. "We're sharing the modular technology with trusted species. The Council is establishing a joint defense force with Phoenix vessels as its backbone. So we've gone from outcasts to leaders in galactic security," Kwan observed. Reed nodded, watching as human and alien engineers discussed modifications to the Phoenix design. "They tried to clip our wings," he said quietly. "Instead, they forced us to reimagine flight entirely." Outside the Council windows, a new type of ship moved into view, a hybrid design combining human ingenuity with alien technology. The first vessel of a united galactic fleet, bearing the name Phoenix Rising.